This is Aaron Golub, host of the Blind Ambition podcast. We'll be bringing you world-class leaders, entrepreneurs, and athletes, people who have overcome obstacles and used their ambition to create enormous success in their lives. If you enjoy this podcast, if you get anything out of it, the only thing I'll ever ask is that you subscribe, rate, and review. Hope you enjoy.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm your host, Aaron Golub, and this week I'm joined by Jeff Lopes. Jeff, thank you so much for being here.
I'm very appreciative of you having me on as a guest. Connecting. We connected a few weeks ago, and I appreciate our friendship we're building. So thanks for having me on, brother.
No, of course. And for those of you who don't know Jeff, he is, a father, an entrepreneur. He's built, 7- and 8-figure businesses, a coach, best top podcast host, and soon to be an author. And Jeff, what really led you down the entrepreneurial path? When did you decide that this is what you want to do?
That started quite young. I started my first company. I was talking about this yesterday and then talked about it in a while, but I started my first company when I was actually 17. And I'll give you a little rundown on it. I found a need. I was, me and my buddies would go from high school to a local little shopping mall right across the street from not far from our high school. And we'd hang out at the food court and whatnot every day. And we got to become friends with store managers. And a lot of them would always complain that after school from 3 to 7, 3 to 8, the amount of theft that was happening, it was so hard because they were getting young kids coming in and stealing. So I found a need there. And long story short is I actually went to my parents and I asked my dad for a $250 loan. I took $60. I registered a sole business. I took the rest of the money. I bought a few jackets saying security. I bought some walkie-talkies. I got some business cards, and the company we started, it was called Strictly Security Services. And I actually hired all my friends, and I would actually put them from 3 to 7 o'clock outside the stores as prevention, loss prevention. And kids going in, they would actually see somebody there. They would obviously, the prevention aspect would kick in. They would go to another store. So everybody, the word of mouth started spreading. At one time, we had about 13, 14 shops. And that was my first venture into being an entrepreneur. But my first real company started at 19, which was Millennium Body, which was a consulting personal training business.
And what made you kind of pick the industries that you were in? I know starting off, what made you say, I know you saw that need that, stores were getting stolen from, but you could have also very easily, started something else. Was there anything more that kind of drew you to that, or you just saw the opportunity?
It was more opportunity. I find a lot of the businesses I've had and exited from is been opportunities. I see an opportunity in the market and I see a need in the market. And I think that's sometimes the best ventures is when you see a need, because you're grasping a quick audience. You're not grasping straws for an audience. You already know there's an audience there, and then you're just fulfilling their needs. So a lot of the businesses I started were needs. With the Millennium Buys, which was at 19 years old, I started the fitness business. That was more of a passion. I was into fitness. I love fitness. And I did find a need with a lot of the big box gyms at that time didn't have something on the back end, which was the personal training. So now if you go to a big box gym, it's very evident every gym, personal training is a huge component of their gym and their income. Going 25 years ago plus, that wasn't an issue. That they would focus on the front end membership base, and that would be pretty much it. And then they would have the odd freelance trainer working in the gym. So what I did was I actually started building what I called back-end systems, where I would go to the gym, I would hire a couple of trainers, we'd open a little consulting office, and anybody would get a membership, they would have to do a fitness test. Then we'd try to sell them a personal training package, and that would go to the front end. So that would generate quite a bit more income for the gyms, and it started scaling. And at one point we were consulting. I would think it was over like 20 gyms. We were doing consulting, and we're installing these systems to the gyms. We're helping them with the hiring process of the trainers. And at the same time, the other component of my business was in-home training. So I had 6 trainers. I would actually advertise, get people with in-home needs of a personal trainer. I'd go there, sell the package, and then I would actually consult and I would actually send over a trainer, and they would fulfill the training in that process. So that was 2 components of the business. And I ran that business for a few years before I exited that company as well.
Very cool. From there, what led you to what you're doing now with both, True Blue Homes and Komorowa?
Komorowa, where also it was a passion thing. I've always been into martial arts, and for those who don't know, Komorowa is a brand of martial art and boxing equipment. I found it in January 2006. So we're actually going on to 15 years that business has been running, and it's been my baby passion. Usually, most companies I build and I kind of fall out of love with them, and I end up finding an exit strategy. This is the only company I've actually kept for quite a few years, and this brand was the exact same thing. It was a passion of mine in the way where I always loved martial arts. I trained in martial arts, and I saw the actual almost like that roller coaster. It was going up with the whole UFC and martial arts. It was starting to build a momentum. And I saw that let me jump on this bandwagon now and let's see what happens. And we started the company as an apparel brand. And I did that for a reason. With the apparel aspect, I knew it was an easy way to brand the brand. So I
Yep.
really focused on branding for the first year and a bit. And then I really transferred and I pivoted the company to training equipment. And then from there on, that's where it all started with the training equipment. And 15 years later, we wholesale to about 1,800 gyms right across North America. And we customize about 75 gyms a month and fulfill all their custom needs as well. So we're really, really out there now after 15 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And then, alongside that, I know you're running True Blue Homes. Did you feel the need to just add another company? What was the thought behind starting that?
There's a whole we've talked about it in the past, Aaron. There's a whole story behind True Blue Homes where real estate is something I've always wanted to dive into, and is always something I had a lot of interest in. And in 2008, we had a aha moment when my son was born. My son spent the first 4 months of his life at Sick Kids Hospital, and we almost lost him about 5 or 6 times. And when he was discharged from Sick Kids Hospital, he was diagnosed with CP, cerebral palsy, and they said he would be in a wheelchair. And I wasn't ready to accept that, and I almost flipped that switch at that moment, saying I was going to put my purpose into my son and getting him to walk. And I know he was only 4 months old, but that journey started from there. And I realized at that moment, because prior to him being born, I had a 2 year old daughter. I've been married for quite a few years. My business was my baby. I was working 12, 15 hours. I was in the office crazy hours. I wasn't a very present father to my daughter. I was literally out of the house pretty much 80% of the day. And when my son was born, I realized very quickly, in order for him to succeed and get the goals that I knew I had to make him achieve, I needed to be a lot more present. And I realized the
Yeah.
only way I could be more present is having more passive income. And that's where the real estate industry kicked in. And I started realizing, how could I make more passive income with the real estate industry, and have something in regards to, I didn't know my son's future. If something were to happen to me one day, a company is great, but if I'm not there to run the company, what happens with the company, with
Yeah.
Komorowa? So I thought, having real estate, having passive income, if something were to happen to me, his future is set. And that's where we started. I started with the whole venture of True Blue Homes. We started with one property in a four-season vacation rental area in a place called Blue Mountain, and it's a five-star resort area. And it's got skiing, biking, it's got everything. It's a very outdoor location. And we started with one property there, and I realized the passive income was really, really good. And from there, it grew to four properties. And now I'm actually a little more north of that. We're in the process of building a 16-acre cabin resort. And that's where everything switched, because 12 years ago, that's when I actually implied and implemented the whole, I call it the 3 to 7, where I'm home every single day from 3 to 7 o'clock, and I haven't missed a dinner at home for almost 12 years. And that has been my purpose. And I've actually learned how to manage my schedule, and so precise. My schedule is everything to me, and everything is blocked in my schedule. So when I focus my schedule every single month, I actually build my schedule around my family time. So
Yeah.
my schedule is built around my family time. Everything else is added to it. And long story short, through the whole process, my son went from possible wheelchair to wearing AFOs, which were braces. From braces that we were told he'd wear at least till he's 18, 19. at his 12th, prior to his 12th birthday, he's out of braces and now getting ready to run his first marathon, which is pretty amazing. This kid is he's an
Insane.
absolute
That's
beast, man.
incredible.
Absolute
That's
beast.
incredible. And I think that the passion that you have around your son and your kids and your family is amazing. I think so many people don't understand that, they schedule their work schedule and they schedule their family time and their relationships around that. And then they're unhappy and they wonder why. And I think it's really important to learn and understand that if you schedule your family time, your relationships, the things that are important to you, and then you schedule your business around it, not only will you be more productive, you'll be happier, you'll just be in a much better place.
Oh, 100%. 100%. Your productivity and your success level at everything, because you're not wasting time. Everything, like I'm so focused on my schedule, everything's blocked. So a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of business people, what they do is they'll get focus on a task or a job throughout the day, and they don't block a scheduled time for that task or that job. And I think that's very important, because what happens is I start a task. It's a Wednesday afternoon. I start a task. 2 hours pass, 3 hours pass, 4 hours pass. I'm still killing that task. The
Yeah.
situation is after an hour and a half, your productivity for that task diminishes greatly. So what I
Yeah.
do is I schedule and I say, you know what? I'm going to focus an hour here today, an hour here today, an hour. And if I'm only going to dedicate an hour to that task, I'm going to give it everything I have. I might not finish it today, but it'll be a lot more productive. And that way, when I hit it tomorrow, I'm fresh again and I kill it for another hour. So I'm very scheduled into blocking into my schedule every single day.
Yeah. No, that's so important. Time blocking is crucial. I mean, I know I time block my schedule like that as well, focus on the task, get it done, and then move on to something else. Sometimes I may come back to that task later if I have time or if I want
100%.
to schedule it in. But, my schedule is a lot more flexible. I don't, have kids. I don't have those responsibilities at the moment. So I can time block my day a little differently at the moment and, get what I need to get done.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's awesome. Where do you see yourself going with, everything you have, your businesses in the future? Do you feel like you're going to continue to develop them? Are you planning on starting something new soon? What's going on?
Yeah. So when the pandemic hit, like all of us, it affected everyone. And if anybody didn't say it didn't affect them, it could affected them in a way where it could have been a positive effect or a negative effect. I took it as a positive effect. When the pandemic hit, my first two companies, my main two companies, Komorowa, where we sell directly wholesale to gyms. So all of a sudden the gyms were closed. So I had to pivot the company once again, focus more on fitness equipment, focus more direct to consumer. My other business, with the vacation rentals, the government shut down STA, short-term accommodation. So I had to pivot that company and look at different ways to get renters in there. So we focused on people that are in need of a place to stay. For example, they were been misplaced from their home or something. So we were able to get through that process as well. But at the same time, that was 8 months ago, and roughly 8, 9 months ago. And 8, 9 months ago, I was like, this is a great opportunity. For the last, we talked about this probably went to air. For the last 3 years, I've been coaching and mentoring young entrepreneurs. I've taken 64, 65 young entrepreneurs under my wing, never charged a penny, and it was always just to give back. And I've seen some of these guys build 7, 8 figure companies now, which is pretty amazing. And I've been there from day one, helping them and guiding them. So having that opportunity to have a little more breathing time, I said, you know what, this is the right time.
Yeah.
And starting in March, I launched Jeff Knows Inc., which you're going to be a guest on soon, podcast. That has exploded. I use the podcast as networking because I realized at that moment I needed two things. If I wanted to become more successful and become a coach and be more of a recognized coach, I had to brand myself. So I used the platform of the podcast to help myself brand and help myself network. At the same time, I really dug deep and I started focusing on building a platform for coaching, which is
Yeah.
launching in 2 weeks, which is called A Man's Purpose, which is directly, I'm sticking to what I know and what I'm comfortable with. And at the same time, too, what I mean by what I'm comfortable with, what I know I could actually be able to be at service to other men. And so I'm focusing on entrepreneurial dads. And I know it's a niche I'm really comfortable with. I know I've mastered and I could be able to help so many. So I'm launching A Man's Purpose in a few weeks, which will be directly to
Yeah.
entrepreneurial dads. I took pen to paper. I wrote a book, which will be launched in 2 weeks, which is a simple title, Entrepreneurial Dad, and keep it simple. the kiss method. And at this point, everything is just working perfectly. And I actually went back to school. A lot of people, I've put a couple announcements on it, but a lot of people aren't aware is I thought, you know what, if I'm really going to dive into this coaching, let me learn the actual life coaching aspect of it. And also I always had interest in NLP, which is neuro linguistic programming. And so I actually became a certified master NLP, and I became a certified life coach with a recognized world certification. So through the whole process, a lot of people sat back during the pandemic and they just waited. And I did the other opposite. I literally poured gas on the fire, and I literally just took off as much as I could, and I took on as much as I could. And through this period, I've been able to accomplish 4 massive tasks while getting both my companies to get them, both my other companies back to
Yeah.
where they're respectable levels again, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. I think that that coaching group, that book, everything that you have coming up is so powerful. I know you might not want to share too much, but any specific highlights or anything that people should look for within the book?
Yeah, it's just I'm giving a couple in the book we're doing is I gave a couple of my stories. It's a very short, very easy read. It's my first book. I'm actually in the process of already starting writing my second book, which would be a longer version. But my first book was essentially my 7 tips of how to create balance and succeed as an entrepreneur and as a dad at the same process, right? And how to become a more present father, how to build memories. It's just a lot of good tips that people could apply into their life. And my mindset is if somebody reads this book and can take one tip out of it and actually better their quality of their life, better their relations with their children, I've done my job. So that was the whole process of this book.
Yeah, that's amazing. If it helps one person, helps a couple people, then
That's
it
all
did
you
its
could
job.
ask for, right? Especially when
Yeah,
what we're doing is it's I always have that mindset where I never look at my competition, I never look at my numbers. And I've done this always with all my businesses. With Komorowa, with every business I've always done, Aaron, I never focus on my competition. I know what they're doing. I'm aware of what they're doing because I'm not blind to it.
yeah,
But at the same time, too, I understand that you have to stay in your lane and focus on
yeah,
yourself and give as much attention to yourself. I think a lot of entrepreneurs get lost in worrying about what their competition is constantly doing. I focus on what I could
yeah.
do and what I could focus on and what I could achieve and just stay in my lane. And I've always been successful that way as well, right?
See, that's a great point because part of the issue is so many people get so wrapped up in worrying about how others are doing, focusing on their, success, that first off, it distracts you from your own success and your own numbers and your own business and everything that you're doing. But at the end of the day, you know, what someone else is doing does not affect you at all. Just, if they're doing well or they're doing bad or they're doing okay, that doesn't affect your business. So
At
why
all.
get wrapped up in
At
how
all.
their business is doing?
At all. If anything, that should drive you. I use that as fuel, right? So when I see somebody succeed, I love seeing people do well. I love seeing
Yeah.
people's podcasts do well. I love before I even went to air, like I've introduced to people, like I love helping people grow because
Yep.
my mindset with helping people grow and seeing other people succeed, it sets the bar higher for me at all
Yep.
times.
100%. And I think that a lot of people are wrapped up in, oh, I want to succeed and I want to be the only one to succeed. Well, I think that's a little ridiculous. That's selfish. It's, I want everyone to succeed. Just because someone else succeeds doesn't mean I can't succeed. So why can't we all succeed?
100%, 100%. And that's the mindset you have to have, right? And through the process, you're looking at it as I'm serving as many people as I can, or I'm helping as many people as I can. So by that, you're working as a group, and that's where the importance of networking. And I've learned through God, almost 25 years as being a full-time entrepreneur, I've always realized networking was important. But I realized the last 8 months how important networking is. And I try to focus, and I give this a tip to everybody. I try to tell everybody you should be networking with 3 new people every single week. And I
Yep.
also try to network 2 people in my network together every week. And why I do
Yep.
that is I love building strong relationships and seeing other people build strong relationships. And there's a reason for that. If I connect you, Aaron, like I did to, for example, Daryl Stinson, and all of a sudden you guys hit it off and become best friends and start a business together one day, where is your common anchor? Where's your common ground you
Yeah.
guys always have? Is me. So you
Exactly.
guys always remember me for doing that. So Don't be selfish. Connect people together. Let them succeed together. Because at the end of the day, if they're good, honest people, they're never going to forget about you, and they're always going to come back and help you as well. So network, 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 and help other
Yep.
people network.
Yeah, that's so important. I love that. You know, what advice would you give to, let's just say, young entrepreneurs? You know, the people that you mentor, someone like myself who, has something established, but is really trying to build and grow and create something, that's bigger than themselves. What advice would you give to someone?
First off, when you're building something, never focus on the dollar, never focus on the amount of money you're making. I always say focus on your network, focus on how many people you're connecting to, how many relationships you're building. I
Yeah.
always hear a lot of the true great entrepreneurs. They'll always say, whatever, whether they rather have $1 million or 1 million friends. I rather have 1 million friends, because you could generate a lot more money off 1 million friends. So having that mindset where I am growing my network and I'm growing the brand or whatever I'm doing in the right direction, in the positive way. And what I mean by that too is having that direct drive and passion behind it. Because at the end of the day, if you're not passionate about what you're doing, so you've said, I've had a few conversations with you, and every conversation you keep talking about public speaking is a passion of yours. So that's
Hmm.
clearly a passion of yours. As long as you truly have a passion for it and
Yeah.
realize that there's other ways to build that network or build that road to getting you there,
Yeah.
understanding that, right? Because you might have one passion. For example, like you said, public speaking. You can't just go out there and be a public speaker. You have to build your brand. You have to build your network. You
Yeah.
gotta, and you're doing it the right way. You do your
Yeah.
podcast. There's different avenues you have to build to be able to get yourself to that platform.
Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, find your passion. That's the first thing. Find something that you wake up every single day of the week. When it's Monday, you wake up and you're getting out of bed and you have a smile on your face. You're going to work.
No.
That's the first thing. The second is, don't worry about how much money is coming to your account.
Yeah.
Focus on, at the beginning, focus on building the awareness, building the brand, building your network. The money will come. The money
Yeah.
will always come. And one thing I've learned through years and years of being an entrepreneur, you succeed, you fail, everybody fails, everybody succeeds. Money comes and goes.
Yeah.
Money comes and goes. If you're a true entrepreneur, I always say this, and I was having this conversation. It's funny because I was having this conversation. It just came up in a conversation the other day with my mom. I was driving and I was having a conversation with my mom, and just out of the blue, she goes, I feel so sad for all these small restaurants, because they did another lockdown here in Toronto, Canada, and all
Yeah.
the small restaurants are, I mean, most of them are closing their doors. They can't survive. And she goes, thank God you're not a restaurant owner. And I stopped and I go, Mom, I go, you've known me for 43 years of my life. Do you think if I was a restaurant owner, I would fail? And she stopped and she's like, actually, probably not, because I would find a way to succeed. So it's that, have that mindset of, no matter what, I'm not going to play a victim, and I'm going
Yeah.
to find a way to succeed no matter what. And I'll find a way to pivot the company or re-angle the company that I'm always going to be successful. That's another thing as well, is learning how to understand the market and be able to shift the market.
That's awesome. No, that's so important. I love both of those points. And I think that, for the first part, so many people get stuck up, focusing on the money, focusing on the numbers, and, for example, in 2020, was the year that, I've been speaking for a while, but 2020 was the year that I like really wanted to grow my speaking, grow my brand. And so, I focused on growing my brand, growing my speaking, starting my podcast, doing everything that I could to get my name out there. And I didn't focus on money at all.
No.
I did that for a year, and I'm not even focusing on a ton of the money at this point. But it's only now that I'm starting to say, okay, maybe how can I start earning more money with it? But it's not the number one priority by any means. I mean, I never wake up every day. I think so many people wake up every morning and say, how can I get a new client today? How can I make more money today? I wake up every day and I say, how can I either build on 2 or 3 relationships that I have, or create 2 or 3 new relationships today? And, just understanding that the end is certain if you just keep building relationships.
That's you're speaking to the choir here. That's exactly your mindset. And as long as you have that mindset, Aaron, you're going to be successful. 100%.
Awesome. So, where can everyone find you on social media, website, your podcast? Where, if people want to see more from you, where can people find all of that?
Yeah, so I'm more present currently on Instagram. It's at Jeff Lopes, Lopes. I will be launching in a few weeks. If you're an entrepreneur and you're a dad, I'd love to have you on our program. I know it'll be add a lot of value, and I hold you very accountable. We have an on track weekly accountability program. We have group chats. We have a mentoring program. We have a mastermind once a month. There's so much added value, and it'll be at jeffreylopes.com. It's JEFFREYLOPES.com. That'll be launching in less than 2 weeks, or by the time this podcast launches, it might be already out. And yeah, it's just anything you guys know. Then you could take a listen to us at the Jeff Knows Inc. podcast as well. We got great guests, and we have just great conversations on there as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on, Jeff. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it at all, if you got one thing out of it, we'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe, rate, and review. Thank you.